Did you know that 38.5% of US adults set New Year's resolutions every single year? And out of those 38, 59% are from the ages of 18 to 34, making it the largest demographic that sets New Year's resolutions. Now, 48% exercise more, so that's pretty typical. And the top three of all New Year's resolutions is health related. Now, 23%, and this is where it gets interesting, they quit in their first week, and only 36% make it past the first month. So, how many make it? How many individuals, on average, keep their New Year's resolutions? Drum roll, 9%. Only 9% successfully keep their New Year's resolutions. Now, here's what's fascinating about this research. It shows that it's not a lack of resources or time that holds people back. It's the misalignment between what's conscious, in other words, their conscious wants, and the deeper desires and mental patterns. Now, this misalignment, this costs people thousands of dollars in unused gym memberships or abandoned projects and basically unfulfilled dreams. Hello, I'm Dr. RB. I'm a Jungian trained psychologist, and I'm here to show you how to bridge the gap between aligning your mind to achieve what you truly desire. So stay with me because what you're about to learn could transform how you approach every goal in your life. Let's get into it. The relationship between our conscious desires and our unconsciousness is like an iceberg. What we see above the surface is just a small fraction of what's really driving our behavior. So some of you have seen that iceberg image. Through my years of clinical practice and research, I've observed that success isn't just about setting clear goals or practicing positive thinking or saying affirmations. It's really about creating a deep alignment between our conscious ambitions and our unconscious self, which is what I call the true essence. Now, think of your mind as an orchestra. The conscious desire is the conductor. That's consciousness, the ego. It's trying to, get the musicians to do what you want them to do. But the unconscious beliefs and patterns that are playing, they're using a different sheet music. And instead of creating this beautiful harmony, what you end up having is chaos. Today I'm going to show you how to get your entire psychological orchestra playing in perfect synchronization. So there's two stories here that illustrate this challenge from clients of mine. First, one of my clients, I'm going to call her Tina, she came to me very frustrated with her inability to launch her business. She said that she knew exactly what she wanted, but she kept sabotaging herself. Then there's another client, I'll call him Michael. He's a talented artist who couldn't seem to finish his portfolio despite having all the skills and resources that he needed. Both Tina and Michael were experiencing what Jung called the shadow. And the shadow is this unconscious pattern that opposes our conscious desires. But their situations were very different and revealing in different ways. Tina's shadow manifested as procrastination and self-doubt, while Michael's appeared as perfectionism and fear of judgment. These patterns aren't random. They're mechanisms developed over years, and they're often rooted in childhood experiences or cultural conditioning. Tina, I discovered, she came from a family where financial stability was prized above everything else. Her procrastination was actually her shadow's way of keeping her safe from the perceived risks of entrepreneurship. She was afraid that people were going to criticize her. Michael's perfectionism, on the other hand, stemmed from early experiences where his creativity was criticized. His unfinished portfolio was a shield against potential rejection. Now, this is what I call the desire belief gap. It's a psychological chasm between what we consciously want and decide we want and what our deeper, darker part of ourselves believes is possible and what will keep us safe. Until we bridge this gap, we'll continue to feel like we're swimming against our own current. So, how do we create this crucial alignment? Through my research and clinical work, I've developed a comprehensive approach that works on multiple levels of. The first one is called shadow integration. First, we need to acknowledge and embrace the parts of ourselves that resist the change. This isn't about forcing these parts into submission. It's about understanding their protective role. And I guide my clients through this process called shadow mapping. In this second process, I start by journaling about their resistance, identify the emotions behind the resistance, and I tell them to ask themselves, how is this pattern trying to protect them? And I also look for childhood or past experiences that might have created this protection. Remember, the shadow is what Carl Jung was referring to, the parts of ourselves that we end up putting in the back burner or in the back of our mind because these parts are threatening to us. They cause us a lot of anxiety. Whether they're positive and negative in and of themselves is another matter, okay? But we've learned that they provoke anxiety because we feel like they're going to harm us, or we're going to be rejected, or whatever the case may be. We kind of put them in the back, and that part of our personality gets ignored. And if we do this for a long period of time as we're growing up, it tends to have a life of its own, and it tends to be the one that sabotages us, or it gives us a lot of stumbling blocks, things like that. Another thing that I like to work on is through active imagination. And this is a powerful Jungian technique which involves creating a dialogue with different aspects of your psyche. And the way that you practice this, for example, is I tell my clients to find a quiet space, or if we're doing it in session, I create this space where they feel safe, they close their eyes, and then they imagine a character or a symbol, and then they have a conversation with this character symbol, and they ask it things like, what do you need, what are you trying to protect, what's blocking things from happening, why are you blocking that from happening, just different questions that they could ask. And they are to pay attention to what comes up. What comes up could be images, it could be feelings, it could be words, and all of this gets recorded and written down. The key to this, you have to trust the process. So if you second guess yourself and you think you're making it up or whatever, even that can give you a lot of really good material, but you have to trust that that is important as well. Another technique that's good to use is symbolic anchoring. And this is due because the unconscious responds powerfully well to symbols. And it creates a tangible representation of desires. So the symbol can create that. Now, you're to choose and create an object which represents a goal. For example, years ago when I was in Jungian training, I was training to be a Jungian analyst, and part of the training, you are to choose a symbol as part of your training, what they call an alchemical plate. And in this symbol, it's supposed to be a symbol that really calls to you, connects with you. You're supposed to kind of let it pull you in other words. And my symbol was very important to me at the time. I haven't really seen it in a while, but at that time, I used to have it in front of me a lot. And when I would do my meditations in the mornings, I would have this symbol. It was just something that I could look at and it would be anchoring. It had an anchoring effect. So this is something else that is powerful and it works very well. And you can even develop a simple ritual around it, and you can use it as a focal point, like I said, especially for visualization. And then the last thing that's very helpful is doing pattern recognition. And what this is about is pattern recognition and restructuring. And here, it's really about identifying and transforming limiting patterns. And for this, you keep a journal. You can label it pattern journal because it's going to be something just to catch these patterns. That's really what the purpose of this is. And when you move toward or away from your goals, you want to be aware of any patterns that's a result. Because usually, if you are doing something over and over again, it's a behavioral pattern. And that gives you a lot of information. So it's so important to be aware of these patterns. This way, you can identify triggers and responses. You can also create new response patterns because you became more conscious of your patterns. So I want to return now to Tina and Michael, these clients of mine that I used to have. And after using some of these techniques, Tina's breakthrough really came through shadow integration and active imagination. And through our work together, she discovered that her procrastination was actually a deeper way of maintaining family harmony. Once she acknowledged this, she could then have a dialogue with her inner entrepreneur and her inner protector. So she created a symbolic anchor. A small business card holder was her symbolic anchor. And this card holder actually belonged to her grandmother. So it really represented a family legacy as well as new beginnings for her. The results were remarkable. Within 6 months, she had launched her business, and surprisingly, her family became her biggest supporter. Her inner and outer alignment had transformed external relationships as well. So, what she really feared and thought she needed protection from, which was her family criticizing her, actually it dissolved because it was all something that she carried within. Now, Michael's transformation came through pattern recognition and symbolic anchoring. He created a dedicated studio space that became his safe zone for creativity. And through active imagination, he started dialoguing with his inner critic and discovered it was actually trying to push him towards excellence, not hold him back. He learned to channel this energy into productive refinement rather than analysis paralysis or just perfectionistic paralysis. And within 3 months, not only had he completed his portfolio, that was his goal, but he described feeling whole. For the first time in his creative process, his work actually improved because he was no longer fighting himself. The key to achieving your desires isn't about forcing change or fighting yourself. It's really about creating an alignment between all parts of yourself, of your psyche. When your conscious goals and unconscious beliefs work in harmony, they manifest things, and manifestation becomes natural. Your mind becomes your ally rather than an obstacle or stumbling block. So remember, you want to acknowledge and integrate your shadow or those parts of yourself that you don't understand why. So every time you say, I don't know why I do this or why I do that, it's probably related to shadow or definitely unconscious material. And you want to use active imagination to dialogue with your psyche or create a symbolic anchor in your physical environment or even recognize and restructure limiting patterns. This isn't just about achieving goals. It's really about achieving wholeness, which is much more important. Now it's your turn. To begin this journey of alignment, in the comments below, if you so dare, share a desire that you've been working on to manifest and what resistance you've noticed. What might that resistance be telling you? That's something to explore deeper. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell for more insights on psychological alignment and personal transformation. Remember, true change begins with inner alignment, and your journey starts now. This is Dr. RB. Once again, it's a pleasure and thank you for joining me. And here's to your new journey and your new inner alignment. Bye bye for now.